G'day and welcome back to the 40 channel. So today we're looking at our wiring loom. This has been an ongoing little project in the background for so long I don't even want to put hours to it. Anyway, what we've done is we're putting in a brand new fuse box, whole new lot of relays and relay box, stripped out all the damaged wiring, tidied it all up. We're going to bench test everything to make sure that it works before we put it back into the truck. On top of that, we're going to announce the winner of our giveaway. Exciting day. Anyway, let's get into it. I've got a bit to learn about this 40. So we're wiring up a new relay box as well. So we're removing all the old relays, all that messy wiring. There's a bit of burnt out, damaged wiring, so we're removing all of that. Blinker relay looks like it's been hot and got melted at some stage too. So fresh new relays, some new wiring. Now the whole idea of rewiring all this is that I can still look at a wire diagram from a Toyota, whether it's the 60 series or the FJ40 series, and the colours will all match up in my wiring loom. Because it'd be nothing worse than later on if I'm trying to sort out a problem, or if I sell it, someone else is going through the wiring and they don't know what's what. But at least if I stick to the colours, then we should be right. So I'm going to start wiring up the blower and the heater into my wiring loom. Let's crimp our new lugs on. Got all new plugs. Here's our heater fan switch. All we're going to do is line her up. Main power comes in on the switch, and then depending on which way you want to go, high or low, it'll send power back out of the switch. Very simple. Plug that into the switch. Now all we need to do is run these two, is just run it back into a three-way plug that'll plug into that. Now I've seen a lot of people ask about where to get original plugs from. Your Navara plugs, which you get from most auto shops, these plugs plug directly into all your wiring diagrams, so it makes it super easy. I only need this end. So chuck that in back in there with the splades. Right now, the easiest way that you make sure that you get all your colouring and your wiring correct is just slip in your new plug, not all the way, and then you can see, righto, this is blue with white, that needs to go down here, blue with black into this corner, and our earth will go at the top, that'll plug in, and we'll give it a test run to make sure it all works. Just got a small little 12-volt battery. Wired it all into the switch, so all the wiring. So I do this before I add it to the wiring loom to make sure that everything works okay. Excellent. And make sure you label everything. And blower switch. You can use crimp connectors when you're doing your wiring in your loom. Very easy. Slide the two wires in, crimp the two ends together, and you've got a solid connection. I'm not the biggest fan of them. I never have. They can get water and corrosion inside them. You can get that green death inside the wiring. They can pull out. So I'm not a big fan of them. I make sure that I solder all my joints together. The other argument to that is, some people say soldering creates another weak point. There's a lot of flex between both ends of the wire, and I've never seen a solder break over vibration or anything like that in a vehicle yet. So I'm going to stick with soldering. Tape all my wires together just with some electrical tape, just to hold it in place so I can keep track of my wiring loom and where wires are supposed to go. And once I'm ready to solder it all together, strip the wires back, soon as you cut that wire, put the heat shrink over it first. Twist your wires together. Make sure you get some good quality soldering wire. This one's 60% tin, 40% lead. It's nice and thin too, so it melts quite easily. Hold the soldering iron on the copper wire, let it warm up. And then just let that solder work its way in. Slide the heat shrink over the solder. Flame moving all the time backwards and forwards over it, otherwise you will burn that heat shrink. And just continue that process over and over and over and over and over again until your entire loom has been rebuilt or repaired, whatever you might be doing. Now I imagine that pretty much most of you guys, if not all of you guys that are watching this, are not having to go through the same process that I'm going through, where you've got two different types of wiring looms and trying to make it all original. If you are, I take my hats off to you. Most of you guys will be just working on what you've got, pulling your original loom out and just going over it. So make sure you've got a current wiring diagram for your car. And it's quite simple really. I know it looks very intimidating, but all you need to do is look at the colour of the wire. For instance, this one's just straight yellow. Look over your wiring diagram, have an idea of roughly where it's going to so you know where to look for it. Chase it out on your wiring diagram, yellow, and follow it all the way through. Make sure that where it follows through on the wiring diagram, physically follow it through the wiring loom and make sure it ends up in the same spot. If you find any damage, corrosion, melted wires, strip those wires out and replace them with new. By going over your wiring loom, especially if you've got an original wiring loom which could be up to 40 to 50 years old, you're taking care of any little surprises or any little dramas before they happen out on the road. It takes a lot of time and you have to be very meticulous. So make sure you trace every wire colour, have the correct wiring diagrams, and just take your time. Once you've done that, bench test it before it goes into the vehicle. That way, you know that it's right here, should be right in there. You throw it in your vehicle, plug it all up, and then something doesn't work, you could spend ages crawling under dashes, crawling through engine bays, trying to find a broken wire, a misplaced wire, or something that hasn't been wired up correctly. Do it all here on the bench. Should save you a lot of hassles later on. Well, that's the theory anyway. Let's hope so. So here's the exact reason why we're changing the plugs. I just picked this plug up and it just crumbled in my hands. It's just super brittle, breaks away. New plugs, new splades if needed, otherwise we might be able to save them and clean them up. It's 5:10 in the morning. This wiring's really twisting my head around. So I got to the point where I've got the blower to work, I've got the wipers to work, I've got the lights to work, and then I got to the blinkers and the hazard lights, and it really started to confuse me. And just poring over wiring diagrams for 3 days straight in this wiring loom, you get to that point where your head's just spaghetti like the loom, and I couldn't think straight, I couldn't get it right. The hazard light switch was just I couldn't figure it out. The wiring on the back of the hazard switch has different colors that actually don't match up to the wiring on this. So anyway, I took a break. I'm a shift worker, so a lot's been going on with night shifts, and I'm about to duck off to a few more day shifts. So I haven't had much time to get back into it, but going over it the other day, drawing it all out and actually physically pulling the switch apart to see what it looks like inside and trying to work out where the wires go, I think I finally figured it out. So I couldn't not go to work again without just coming quickly down here, quickly playing around with some wiring, throw the multimeter on it and just give it a quick test and see what it looks like. Our hot wire comes in from our horn with hazards, and it's green with black. Comes into here. So our hot wire on our actual switch, believe it or not, is green with white. So green with black, we'll need to go green with white. Our ignition wire, which is straight green, we'll need to go to green with red. And our green orange is our output wire, which actually goes with green with white. So you can see my total confusion. Everything else in this loom, all the colouring sort of matched up to my HJ60 diagram and the FJ40 diagram. But when it came to this, none of the colouring is matching up. So now that I've figured it out, you can see why my head was really twisted up. Why the switches are all pulled apart, just give these terminals a bit of a clean on the back here. Same with the inside, these are really clean anyway, but we'll just give them a quick clean. Real quick clean of some contact cleaner. Look at that, looks brand new and shiny. So just let all that evaporate off before we put it back together. We'll just check the springs to make sure that they're okay as well. They're not broken and they've got a nice tension on them, which they have, which is good. Put our switch back together. Hold it down nice and tight against those springs. Just fold these tabs back over. Righto. Plug this bit together. Trickiest part about doing your wiring is you can't see electricity, which is why it's so dangerous. Even in a 12-volt system like this, it can start fires and melt your wiring and destroy your loom pretty quickly. So that's where multimeter comes in handy. Now, to just do some basic testing, you don't need anything very expensive or flash. All you need to do is just quick and easy when you've got no power going through it, is just set it on your tone for your ohms, just so that you get that tone. And that way you can test between wiring to make sure that you've got good connections and you've got flow through your entire loom. So I've been going around testing from one end of the loom right through to the other to make sure that there's no breaks in the wire, and then you get a nice constant flow. What I can do with this is I can test my back of my switch into my relays and down to my blinker switch and even down to where my blinkers plug in. So we'll have a quick look and we'll see how that comes up. This is going onto my hot wire. So we're actually going to go from the back of the hazard switch now right up to our column stalk where our blinker switch actually is. Look at that. The hazard switch and the blinkers, that was pretty much the last major thing on this wiring loom to do as far as actual physically wiring it. So we're nearly there, and it's 6:10 now, so it's time for me to turn the lights off and get to work, and it's freezing cold down here anyway, so I'm pulling the pin. Righto, this has been extremely confusing as you've seen. We're going to test it. Woo! I'm pretty happy about that. My wiring is finally complete. So we know that the blinkers now finally work. Pull the switch. We've got park lights. We've got headlights. I already know that the wipers work. The blower motor works. Hazards works. Blinkers work. I am so relieved. Whew. So it was a very good idea to bench test it, because if I was trying to do this in the car, I would have cried. Anyway, exciting day. Today we're going to go and draw the winners. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down to TOOLKING. We're going to go see Heath and Irene, the owners of TOOLKING here in Bathurst, and they're going to draw the winners. So this is pretty exciting, so let's go see those guys. Righto, so here we are at TOOLKING. So we're going to go in and see Heath and Irene, and we're going to draw the winner. Let's go. Hello TOOLKING staff.
Hey mate,
How are we? Good. Sensational. Come down to see you to draw the winner for our competition. Excellent. Alright, exciting day. I'd like to introduce Heath from TOOLKING. Heath has been a huge supporter of TOOLKING through my entire project, so I really appreciate that, mate. It's been fantastic. It's great. Heath lets me come down and just take stuff off the shelf. I have to put it under my jumper to walk out, but no. So,
what that jacket was for.
Yeah, sorry. Anyway, Heath's going to pick our winners today, so hit start and we'll see what we get, mate.
So we use the random comment picker, and best of luck. Okay, and the winner is Archie Wilder, Hamilton, Victoria, Australia. He's got a 1983 45 series with a 1986 2H and 5-speed built in a shed with Dad's help. Cheers, Archie.
Congratulations, Archie. Sensational. All right, so that's our major prize winner. So he's getting stuff from TOOLKING, as well as a reso mat pack and a whole lot of other stuff that we already announced. So now we need to move on to our second winner. International winner.
Okay, so we've got Mike Hackler from Western Kansas, USA. He's working on an 82 Toyota pickup and just purchased an 84 Supra.
Nice. Well, at least he's kept with the Toyotas, so that's
Nice
a good
combination.
one.
Yep.
Congratulations, Mike. So we'll send you out the shirt and the 40 channel stickers. That's pretty cool. And we've got one more Australian winner to go. Adelaide. Nice. What do we got?
Michu. Adelaide, South Australia, restoring a 1983 HJ47 and loving the channel.
Thanks for the love, mate. Congratulations. You'll be getting a full reso mat package as well as a few other bits and pieces, so that's pretty exciting. That's it. That's our winners done. So thanks for your help today, mate. Appreciate it.
No worries at all.
Sensational.
Anytime.
And I encourage you guys, if you want tools, jump on TOOLKING's website. They do full online ordering, and we might do a quick browse around the shop and say what you guys got available.
Sounds great, mate.
Good on you. Full set of workshop equipment, every type of aerosol you could possibly think of, fully rated lifting gear, everything for your garden, every single size drill bit you could possibly imagine. They sell the infamous 10mm socket, right up to your 130mm socket. The entire range of King Tony selection, tool trolleys, the entire range of Milwaukee, adjustable pry bar, everything you could possibly need for all your welding needs. And some really friendly staff. Righto, so that's it for another episode. So congratulations to our 3 winners. So a huge thank you to all the guys that jumped on board with our giveaway. So we had True Fit Carpets giving away the reso mat, TOOLKING throwing in like a mini restoration bit of a kit there, Online Auto Parts, Raw 4x4, and Mr. Land Cruiser, and plus the little shirt and stickers that we've made up for a bit of fun as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks guys.
Huge thanks to all the people around the world who made comments entering the giveaway.
Yeah, it was awesome. So every state in Australia was represented. Nearly all of the US was represented. We had the Philippines, we had Malaysia, Finland, Ireland, and a stack more countries from around the world. So yeah, again guys, thanks. This will not be the last giveaway, so we've already got some in the pipeline for a bit later on, which is really exciting. So make sure you subscribe, hit the bell to keep updated with what we're doing with the cruiser and stuff that's going to be coming up.
Thanks for watching.
Today in Inspirations, we're going to check out Andy's 1965 FJ40. First, a little bit of a backstory. Andy's first 40 series interaction was back when he was 8 years old, where his dad had bought a brand new FJ45 from the dealership in Perth, Western Australia. After purchasing the vehicle, Andy and his brother were thrown in the back tray and rode it all the way back home, Kalgoorlie. This is nearly 600 kilometres away from Perth. nearly 7 hours sitting in the back of a tray. Needless to say, at an 8-year-old, that is a memory that you never forget. So fast forward to 2010. Andy's looking for the classifieds and he sees almost the exact same 1977 FJ45 pickup truck. Sentiment gets the better of Andy, so he runs out and he buys it. It's in fantastic condition with only 45,000 kilometres on the clock. It had a tray back when he bought it, but as luck would have it, Andy found an almost near perfect condition well body with just a small amount of rust at a garage sale. Purchased the well body, cleaned it up, painted it and put it onto the 45. Andy's put a lot of time and effort into the 45 and it is the vehicle in which you see in these photos now. Incredible detail and as if it was perfect off a showroom floor back in 1977. Then in October of 2013, Andy found a 1965 FJ40. With original hoops and canvas, this thing had been knocked around a bit, but he was only the third owner. And at some stage, one of the other two previous owners had painted it from blue to the green that you see in these photos. The owner of this vehicle had used it as a boat launching vehicle, so it's seen a lot of salt water. And hence, as we all know, 40 series carry rust, well this one had its fair share of rust as well. So Andy got straight into it and started stripping it down. It was going to be a bit of a steep learning curve as he hadn't done much work with panel work before. After stripping it down, he got all the panels sent off to the sandblaster, which as you'd expect, revealed a whole lot of rust. Andy got to work with cutting out the rust and putting in new metal. Andy's idea was to restore this vehicle to its original state. No big wheels, no lifts, no performance modifications, and replace all the damaged and missing items, which were like your windscreen, your left and right mirrors, your tail lights, the tailgate latches were extremely worn, the inner and outer door handles and window winders, and of course all the rust that needed to be cut out, as well as the fuel tank. With nearly 50 years worth of service, it has certainly taken its toll. All the body mount bolts were corroded and snapped, all the rubbers were totally perished. Andy was able to purchase some replacement floor panels, which didn't quite match, but he made them work. After getting all the rust cut out and replaced with all new steel, now it was time to give it a coat of paint to protect it as the restoration continued. Then it was onto the chassis and all the running gear. The chassis was completely stripped down, diffs were completely stripped, axles, hubs, wheel bearings was all stripped back and rebuilt and repaired. Then it was onto the engine. As you've seen, Andy doesn't miss a thing. All the engine components were completely rebuilt, all painted up to spec. Even the starter motor was painted in the original colours. The old radiator was even stripped down, cleaned out, rebuilt and soldered back together. Everything on this vehicle was going to be original. Now that Andy had the motor and the running gear back on a rolling chassis, it was time to throw the tub back on and start on all the finer details of the interior bits and pieces. All the interior knobs were all restored and cleaned up as if new. The seats were totally stripped down to their bare frame and springs so they could be rebuilt and restored as well. Finding an old potato sack as reinforcement. And by the way, if you own this potato sack, Andy's happy to send it back. As far as the seat covers go, Andy was trying to chase down the original colour for the seats and ended up ordering a new set of seat covers so he can continue the restoration of them as well. So far this project's been nearly 7 years in the making and nothing is missing Andy's eye. Puts my build a little bit to shame actually, but it is amazing. If you want to keep watching out where Andy's going with his build, with his 1965 FJ40, check out his entire write-up on I Hate Mud. I'll put the link down below. I will certainly be very keenly watching your build when I get to my 1965 FJ45. I'll certainly be looking for some tips and tricks from what you've learned along the way. Andy, I can see that you have put an absolute mammoth effort into this build and that you are trying to bring it back to the exact state it was when it rolled off the production floor in Japan. It looks amazing, and I'm super excited to see the finished result, as is a lot of you guys are too. And in case you're wondering what happened to Andy's 1977 FJ45, the immaculate ute that you saw at the beginning of this, well, if you happen to be in Broome in Western Australia, you're in luck. If you head up to the Broome Toyota dealership, there it is, sitting proudly on the showroom floor for all to see and drool over. And I would imagine that they've had quite a number of offers on it too. Well done, Andy, and I'm really keen to continue to watch your build and hopefully get over to Western Australia one day and check out both your builds, the one on display and the one that you're building now. Anyway, until next time, take care of yourselves.